The weekly wave. Oh, he's from the nose. The weekly wave. Oh, keeps going home. The weekly wave. Ginger's here. The weekly wave. I'm glad you're stopping by. Take him to him, baby. Jesus, everybody. Noah Smith, what's going on, brother?
Oh, man, here we are. Today's my birthday.
No fucking way?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Noah.
Yeah, so...
you want to disclose your age?
36, baby.
Man, good on you.
Yeah.
10 years past. 10 years of individual health care. I mean, what a moment in time.
I don't even know what that translates to, but I'm here for it.
Well, I mean, like, wait, did you go through the harsh reality of getting on your own health care at 26? Okay, yeah.
That means you're at that place in your life. Where
shit was so real.
Wow, this is getting real.
Dude, that's why I'm wifing somebody up that's got the real stuff, okay?
Yeah, you need a wife and 3 children, quick. I'm going to be in my world.
Well, y'all had cash when you were 21?
20 years old, man. Yeah, my second year of college.
And so how old does that make him now? 16?
15. Well, I tell you how old he is. He just graduated driving school.
Woo!
That's how old he is.
That's how. Did he learn in the band van, or how you teaching him how to drive?
He's not driving yet. He graduated like the school part. Like when we paid for driving school, it was like I think that was the biggest thing in my life. It was like, oh man, I'm not 16 anymore.
Yeah,
I still feel like I'm that age every day. But
dude, I remember those driving classes just being like, so I went to Moeller. Like, I never had classes with gals outside of the 8th grade. Like, it was like going to public school for like an hour and a half, like one day a week. Yeah. And that shit was weird every time. Like, there's like people flirting in the back, and then they're showing like someone getting T-boned, and you're like, what the fuck is this, you know?
Reminds me of that, like, prom. Did you guys do the prom video whenever it was time for prom? They showed that, like, crash video.
No.
Like, you didn't see that?
Sounds sad.
Yeah, it was like they just, like, reminded you, like, don't drink and drive, and they just showed this video every year about how horrible it was. But, yeah, so he just graduated. He graduated driving school, and that's where we're at, man. That was a big deal. And then earlier this year, he's a freshman in high school, so, like, I dropped him off at the high school that I went to. So that was a moment, and then obviously it was like, and then I see everybody else I went to high school, like very home. I live like 2 miles from where I grew up.
Yeah.
So
Brown County, USA though, baby.
Yeah. Brown County's it. And, I used to hate Mount Orb because I was a Hamersville kid. There was these 2 schools that come together, and now I live in Mount Orb. So I was like, I live in Mount Orb, but,
and you're so far in the boonies that most of us don't know what you're talking about.
I live in the bean field. I say we're an hour east of Cincinnati. There's a bean field. You take a right, and that's where I live. That's where I'm at.
So when you're on the road, do you still tell people you're from Cincy, or like how you put that out there?
I always say Brown County.
Okay.
I mean, when people ask, it's like Cincinnati, but
yeah.
I have kind of a joke to like, we're going to put Brown County on the map,
Dude, I think there's something new and endearing about people who are owning their hometowns, especially in the music world, rather than saying, like, I'm from Nashville. Like, bullshit, you're not from Nashville. Like, you grew up in Detroit, like, own Detroit, own Cincinnati, own the places that made you who you are, not the place that you're trying to fit into. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's funny because I just started saying Cincinnati more because it's like, that's where we're from. Like, that's in Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati. I've always been a big fan of, like, everybody complaining about Cincinnati, but I'm like, no, it's a great city, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look at us. We're like 2 awesome people from Cincinnati.
Well, and I think 2 people that want to make some noise about Cincinnati and the grander scheme of things. Like, one thing that you have that I didn't put my time into is 10 years of really grinding in Nashville and trying to say, like, what is it about this city that we don't have back here? Mm. And then you've tried to forge that relationship. Has that been a really conscious effort on your end, or?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think there's some stuff that I learned. Like, Nashville's one of those cities that it's just there's such an industry there. There's not, like, for songwriting, for instance, like, there's not a songwriting industry in Cincinnati. There's people that write songs, there's people that play songs, but it's the song capital of the world. And I don't care what genre, I don't care what, it's the spot. And, you can't go there for a long period of time of any time and not be impacted by it.
Yeah.
And you can say you don't, But if you go and spend some real time there, you're gonna learn, you're gonna grow, you're gonna get changed by it and impacted. I really believe that. I mean, even as hard nosed as anybody wants to be about, like, I'm not into that Nashville. You hear people say that. It's like, well, go spend some time there, and you'll find some things you love about it. So when Nashville, for me, the reason why I really started going down more is because the first couple times I went down, I was like demoing some songs. I didn't go down as like a tourist. I went to a studio for the first time, and then I realized, like, oh, there's this whole other thing here. But for me, when I realized that people love songs as much as I do, that was like game over.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this place. I want to be here. I want to be around these people. And then I'm obsessed with just getting like destroyed in the sense of like, I'm not as good as, as like finding the people that make me better. I want to be around constantly. And that city, like every time you go to it, if you're in the right rooms, you realize like, oh, these people are working every single day of their lives at this. It's not just a Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing. It's every single day. So when I found that when I was a little younger, it was like, oh, this is a game changer for me. So bringing that, I mean, I didn't really bring anything back to Cincinnati in that regard, but I do think it impacted me. And then consciously I was like, hey, I do think there's some things that I just want my buddies to like be a part of. And I'm always inviting, like, hey, come down with me. One thing, because I just don't like to be alone all the time, especially after COVID. I was alone down there for so much. Got really weird. And then COVID happened. Now it's like, I tell Candace all the time, like, I don't even want to leave anymore. Like, I was never a Netflix and chill person. I mean, we did a lot of chilling, but like I didn't. Now I'm like, yeah, like, hey, let's hang out and spend time at home. And so that all changed that. But
well, it's interesting that you say like you're not technically trying to bring anything back, but you're wearing your crooner hat, and it's like this is a brand that you've developed. Did I come in here properly branded? Did I merch up today?
I actually asked her before I left. I was like, 500 Miles of Memphis hat or this one, because I've been wearing 500 Miles of Memphis hat for a while. So so I'll put this one on.
That's some hard gear. I mean, did you design the logo for Crooner before the show happened, or was it like, I'm putting this together, slap some branding on it, and call it a day?
I think I had the logo before we ever did any of them.
No shit.
Trying to like put the package together, but I like to geek out on all that stuff.
Do you remember the first day you thought of the Crooner Circus? Like that name came together?
Yeah, we actually did a show that we just called it the Crooner Circus, and it was just a bunch of Brown County. It was like the Brown County Crooner Circus is what I called it. And it was just a bunch of bands, artists. We did a show, I think maybe at the bar. It's called The Bar. I think that's where it was. I remember like stapling posters up on a wall. So that was like the first like time that ever happened. That was it. I still have the poster. Like, have the 11 by 17. It said Brown County Crooner Circus, and that just kind of stuck around in my head for a couple years after that.
Yeah, when was that?
Oh, dude, shoot,
rough year, dude.
Like,
no shit.
16, 17, like 15, 16, probably.
Okay.
Around there. Because I had just started doing my own thing, and I was in this little acoustic duo called Gypsy and the Tree. And as I had my band in college, and then I was in Michaela Miller. She's a songwriter. She lives out on the West Coast now. Was from around where we lived, and moved to Nashville for a while. But then we started a band after my college band, and then we started that. And I remember having this conversation because she fell in love with this Boy Scout, and it was like legit. And it was like,
boo, Eagle Scouts are nothing, bro. Like, did you even make a bench yet?
Like, I remember sitting in the kitchen on the floor of the house that me and Candace just bought, and I was like, I looked at her, I was like, I need you to tell me what you're gonna do. Like, I'm all in. My music is it. It's everything. I need to know right now, are you gonna do this project or leave? And she was in love, and I was like, all right. Then I slapped my name on it, and that's really what started it. It was like, then I'm like, I'm not putting anybody else's name on this thing. I'm gonna do it.
So before that point in time, you had these college bands, you had the bands you grew up with. When did you become Noah Smith's solo artist?
2014 is the first time I put a project out with my official name on it.
Gotcha.
So I was in a band called the Gambling District.
Brad.
Go look that up.
Great name.
Yeah. Apparently there was like this place back in let's just say Mozart time. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to the history, but there was a place called the Gambling District, and it was like where all the like misfit musicians and artists would go spend time. And that we learned about that in like music theory class in high school. And I was like, that'd be a killer band name.
Put it in the back pocket.
Yeah, there's all these like hardcore screamo bands, and where I grew up, like that was it. There wasn't like we grew up in the country. It's very blue collar out there, but like all the music was hardcore screamo, and it was just that time of my life. And I remember being in yearbook class, and me and a couple buddies were talking about the band, what we were doing. We're like, hey, let's start a band that like. I remember saying this. I was like, yeah, when my aunt comes to a show, I'd love for her to hear what I'm actually saying. You know, not rah, rah, rah.
Yeah. You have a pretty good scream, though. Like, sometimes, like, in the back of your records, you can hear...
selling stuff on eBay right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, Aiden, do you hear... I guess you can't really hear that. We keep getting, like, a ding going on our end. Just watch what keys are being hit. Well, look,
if making trades...
I heard one time that Gary Vee said if you want to make some fucking money, you got to be selling salt shakers on eBay, okay? That may not have been the point he was trying to make, but I heard him, dog. Like, I've been flipping salt shakers. Wendy's, McDanks, wherever you want to find it. Like, But like, you got a good scream. Like, were you just like a backing vocalist doing screams as a kid?
So I always loved writing lyrics, and then but the only friends that played music around me, there wasn't anybody sitting around writing songs. It was like hardcore scream, and those were just songs. Don't get me wrong, but like I just wanted to be a part of it. So I just started showing up, you know, and I started playing guitar. I wasn't even singing, just looking around. I could barely play guitar, looking around, seeing what's happening, and I'd find the one chord and just hang on it the whole song because it didn't really matter. It was so loud anyway.
Yeah.
That was really it for me. Like, that was the world that I was around. So there's always that, like, kind of punk rock, hardcore. I say punk rock, but it's more like hardcore emo. Like, that generation is where I'm from. Like, there's no denying that.
Yeah.
People that are my age, like, everybody talks, like, especially in country, like, I grew up listening to Waylon and Willie. It's like, dude, you had MTV too, just like the rest of us. We didn't have cable, but I'd go to my best friend's house, and when Fuse came out, or like all the MTV2 stuff, I was just like, give me all of that.
Fuse Network, you're saying?
Yeah, wasn't there a station?
There was like a video channel called Fuse, and there was also VH1, but like, I'm a kid that was right behind MTV, and I watched VH1 Top 100 of the 90s growing up, or Top 100. And that shit was really informative, but it was kind of right behind, like, the zeitgeist of popular songs get played here. Right, you know what I mean?
Right. I just thought that MTV2 to me was just like that other thing. And then we would, like, I remember the music that we got into was we get skate videos and BMX videos. We were really into that world. And so, like, the music that was on that was really how I got it. Like, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't have the internet until I was 22 or something. You know, like, my mom and dad they just got the internet last year.
No shit.
They just didn't ever get it.
And is that because you told them to, or they finally just like, we want the internet?
Like, literally couldn't get it on our road where we lived at. But my neighbor had like satellite or something, man. So, dude, I remember going over there and like getting into like the first like chat rooms, you know, like crazy stuff we shouldn't have been even looking at and talking about. But
I mean, the internet opened that up, though. You know,
we're children of the internet, like,
dude. And like, there's a very odd thing there too, where you find a place to have an identity besides your real identity. And there's many folks that skewed there. Then I have my online self, and I have my real self. And there's folks like you and I that continually work on making that online self closer to who you actually are, because that's how you get asses in seats. You know, that's how you provoke people to say, like, I feel like I know Noah Smith, so I'm going to spend the money on the ticket to go see him. Mm-hmm. What kind of introspection do you do when it comes to, like, how long have you done Long Cut Mindset?
Like my coaching?
Yes.
Or like for me personally?
Well, no, I guess like defining that brand around your own experience and like kind of coming to that idea. And I guess describe to people what it is that don't know it.
Well, the Long Cut for me, it was just us in the van traveling, playing a ton of shows, and grinding it out. And for me, it just became like, I used to say, like, it's the long cut. There's no shortcut to this. We're going to go do this the right way, have integrity about what we're doing, show up on time, and do this the right way. Then to me, there was a right way to do the work. Yeah. And I, grew up in a blue collar. My mom and dad laid water main. That was our family business. And heavy construction. So it was like, there's a right way to go do work, or doing tobacco when we were kids, all that stuff. Like, it just trained me to like, there's a good, healthy way to do your work. I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah. Does long cut come from a tobacco reference? Is that chew?
No, it's a lot of people think that. So for me, it was like, I wrote a song called The Long Cut. I wrote with Michael Moeller and Drew Phillips, and and that was kind of that. It was just something I started saying one day, and it made sense to me that was the path that I was on, because it's just that persistency of like, we're going to have peaks and valleys, but if I step back and look at my career, it's been relevant and consistent. And to me, that's like the win for me. I can't control anything else. I can't control. So the long cut was something I just started talking about doing. And then, organically in 2020, when we couldn't tour anymore, we were in a really great, awesome space and a really sweet slot, in my opinion, of had some really great things happening. So just got sucker punched just like everybody else did. It definitely impacted our trajectory. Like, I was kind of in like an emerging artist slot, and in Nashville even was getting that look. And then but the long cut mindset from coaching, actually, I kind of got to a point where I was like, what do I do? Like, everything that I've built since I've been 16 years old has been on this path, like shows, promoting, booking, grinding this thing out, writing original songs. I was like, what the hell do I do? And the long cut came out of, I found somebody, I was talking to them about some business and some social media, somebody I did social media with, and she was like, you should get a coach. Like, literally a coach. Like, let's get you somebody that can give you a different perspective. You're talented, you're ambitious, you have the skills to do this, but you're freaking out. Like, I ended up in therapy for the first time in my life, for many other reasons too. And therapy's cool, and everybody should go if you need it. But like, when I got a coach, it made me realize, like, oh wow, there's people that are doing everything in this world at a higher level than I've ever even seen. And I just fell in love with that. I fell in love with consistently growing, constantly learning. And then I've always been an includer. And that comes from, I think, kind of my punk rock days of like, I wanted everybody to be in the band and in the thing, and I wanted to be a part of that scene. And so I have this starvation of, or this like starving thing of like wanting that community. And that's never been intentional, but now that things are happening, like Kerner's building into this thing, it's like, I realize now that like, that is what I love to do, is like build a community. So I just started like sharing this with my friends, and I was like, man, I really want these people. I see all these artists, especially in Cincinnati, that are so talented, but there's just something, there's pieces that they're missing, and they're not seeing. And so I started paying for coaching. I started getting coached, and Brendan Bouchard's a high performance coach, and I just became obsessed with his world and what he was doing. Has a book called High Performance Habits that like changed my life, literally. And I became obsessed with that. I learned about coaching. And then when I wasn't touring, I was like, man, I'm not at the top, I'm not at the bottom, but I have like 10, 15 years of experience of being an independent artist. And there's people that are just trying to book shows. Like, maybe I can share this with them. And it really kind of gave me an outlet of, my artist career wasn't going 100 miles per hour, but the best way for me to get out of my own way was to serve other people. And I still believe that. Like, I tell people all the time, like, if you're having imposter syndrome, like, who are you serving? Mm-hmm. Think about who you're serving. If you're not motivated, like, who are you serving? Because it takes you out. It takes you out of the game. And you can't think about yourself if you're serving somebody else. And so that kind of was my outlet. I mean, real transparently, like, it gave me a place to put all my energy. And I still want to do more with it. But honestly, I'm at a place right now where it's like, I almost put a thing in the group this morning, like, hey, things are going to be changing in here, because I think I'm going to change the trajectory of what we're doing with it. Because I've seen we do a mastermind every month. We talk about business and life and music and everything. And those are like so powerful. But I'm at a point now, it's like, I got a new single coming out. I got music coming out. I have my own career. Yeah. One of the things I got coached on, Brendan Bouchard's huge on this, is like, keep the main thing the main thing. So 2020, I had to pivot. And now I'm kind of stepping back and like, okay, what do I need to actually focus on for Noah Smith again? Yeah. Versus my buddies. But it's so hard because I love it. I love serving and coaching and helping and seeing other people grow, you know? Yeah. But you can only serve your best when you're at
100% for Noah. When you've taken care of your own shit and your ducks in a row, it's like, what are you worth on the job if you showed up tired, hungry, and hungover? You know what I mean? It's like you
got to get your oxygen.
Yeah, man, and you need to know what those things that rejuvenate you are. But I really like what you said there. The main thing has to be the main thing. Yeah. To Noah Smith, is that the song? Is that the artistry? Is that the shows?
Oh, buddy, that's where I'm at right now. Kind of think I'm there trying to figure that out. I think because at the core of it, what I do, what I think I love to do, and what I think is it's the thing that feeds my family is playing live. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't make any money off streaming, and any of that world. And then I've gotten to that too. It's like my coaching, it is a piece of my income. I'm like, man, I wish I had this whole time. But I want to give 40 hours a week to those guys, because there's people in that group that I'm seeing grow. Like, I've literally seen their lives change in the last year or two. Yeah. And it's because they're involved in that community. It's not just me. I'm cultivating the community, but yeah, man, there are days right now where I'm looking back. It's like, what is that main thing? And because everybody says, like, I want to be an artist. Well, that means you got to do, and you do all these things. It's like, I talk about this quite often. Like, your prolific quality output, something I learned from Brennan. And it's like, what's the thing you're actually best at that's moving the needle, and do that more. Mm. But right now in my own career, even I'm struggling with looking at that. It's like, what is that thing? Yeah. And it's hard to reflect. It's like teaching somebody else that sometimes you got to stop and go back on yourself and like coach yourself. It's like, well, what do I need to be doing? Yeah. And right now it is, I mean, my next season is like, I got to get back. So I wrote this on our wall. This is 2023 for me. We got to get, telling my whole family, everybody, like, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable again, because I've gotten so good at, like, I like to be home. Like, our kids are involved in everything. I love to coach those guys. And I want to be like, I'm a pretty present dad. Me and my wife both are like present parent, but at the same time, it's like, okay, man, you can't have a mental breakdown when you're in Nashville for 4 days by yourself because it about killed you before. Now it's like, no, I have to go do that, and I have to get uncomfortable, and I have to, I got to sleep on some couches again. Yeah. And that's just like always reminding myself, hey, it's my birthday today, but guess what, dude? Like, I'll sleep on floors with the best of them. Yeah. Like, I learned that from my dad, man. Like, pick up a shovel and go. Man, that's one thing you can't teach an adult to get uncomfortable, because if you never learned as a young person that discomfort is just a displacement of the mind. It's what you perceive about this. But if, one of our mutual friends that I'll plug right now, Aroma Coffee, everybody, my man Casey Allen, the dude talks about, what happens when you're at mile 20. Your mind starts to say, like, fucking stop. Yeah. Like, not only is this not good for you, like, we can't go further. If you've never broken that barrier, you have no idea what fruit will bear on the other side of that. Mm-hmm. And embracing discomfort is so much of the fun part of what living a life is, man. Like, if you can enjoy the growth that happens in those spurts. Yeah. Yeah, don't you think, like, we were just talking about, like, college and the way college is changing, university life, but our generation, you're a little bit younger than me, but, like, our era had the opportunity to see, I think we're seeing, I notice my kids doing this, like, I'm observing my folks, they're observing me, but because the internet, because we're all connected, this thing, like, I think we're seeing generations of people that lived this life to have this thing, and then we have the opportunity to look at that, see all the data points, and be like, you guys really weren't happy. This wasn't a happiness thing. And that's why, you hear a lot of people like, well, millennials, they just want to have a purpose. Like, yeah, like, I'm right at the top of that, what's called a millennial, depending on who you talk to or whatever. But whatever, like, no, I was like, yes, like, there's more to this, because you guys are piling it all up, and there's a different path. And now we are blessed to have so many data points and look at this and say, okay, you got straight A's in high school, but that didn't make you happy. Yeah. What the heck? But okay, so you're a realtor, and, like, it's like, are you happy? Yeah. And I hope my kids are just like, man, because we're gone someday. And it's like, I hope they're just doing this. Let's just be happy.
Yeah. Well,
find some joy.
What is it? Pavlov's hierarchy of needs, where it's like you need a roof and you need food, and like
past that, it doesn't even get changed that much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. At some point, your needs are met on a literal level, and then like fulfillment is this huge gray area that's like it's like any other drug in your life. You build a tolerance to the successes you've already achieved, and songwriting is really special in the way that like you're going to sit there every day and you're going to do the same thing you've done over and over again. But some of these are fulfilling and some of these aren't. Some of these things you needed and some of these things other people need. It's like I'm sure you can attest to the time where you write a song that means diddly squat to you and you take it to a room and someone in that room fucking need it, and you're like, okay, so now
I say that all the time.
The universe puts you in places to deliver like that, you know?
Yeah, it's like I always say with songs, like I can think I have the best idea in the world. It doesn't mean anything until I share it with somebody. Isn't there that thing, like, I don't know if this is the right numbers, but like after 75,000, people always want to make more money, but like they basically said,
oh,
like,
it's like the happiness curve.
75,000, it's like nobody's happier after that. Because if you're like right now, it's like, oh man, if I could just have a little bit more. And I'm at a place in my life, and it's hard, but this is like that true where you're like, hey, I'm an artist. This is happening. And like I think it's cool when you can step back and me, Candace, my wife's a photographer, and like we have those talks all the time. It's like our life looks so different. There's still people in my family that love me and support me, but they're like, is Noah like selling drugs? Like, what's he doing for? Like, how's he making?
It was that picture of you in the road with the skateboard. Like,
yeah, of course. Like I had somebody at my old church that asked somebody, and they were like, what is he doing? Like, and it's like music in my life it's it right now. It's bizarre to me. It's still bizarre. But there I am. It's like, oh, well, if I could just have a little more, if I could get this song to happen, if that song pops tomorrow, it's going to change. But we're at a place, I tell my kids this all the time, I coach about this, like our small steps are someone else's big dreams.
Yeah.
That every day of my life I think about. Because there's somebody that just would love to be talking to Matt Waters today. And I get to hang out with you, dude.
Well, it's your birthday, Noah, and I'm willing to scratch your back wherever I can,
And I knew it was my birthday when I booked this. I was like, let's go.
I appreciate that, man. Well, just
I feel like we're gonna end up at a driving range smoking cigars later. There's gonna be somebody coming out with a bottle with like fireworks on it.
There's a banging new driving range just reopened down the street.
Is it called Bangers?
No, it's called Acres. Okay, very close.
Can we start a driving range called Bangers? That would be incredible.
If you had some kind of like target supply where we could ignite these things by the time like when they pop.
Yeah.
Yes, like a pyrotechnics based driving range.
Like the ball's on a timer, so you only have it's like the pitch count.
No, that's a liability issue. No, like how many dudes are gonna be like, I bet I can hold it longer than you. Like we've seen people with Roman candles fuck it up. This shit's dangerous, bro.
I would love to run into like the guy at high school that I just thought wasn't gonna turn into much, and he rolls up and he's just like. You can tell he's got his stuff together, he's slicked out, and he's like, what's up, man? He's like, well, I launched this new company called Bangers, and he's just got there all over the world now.
Explain. It's like it takes over. What's the one where you go on the multi-tiered platform? Topgolf. Whoever came up with that idea, everyone made fun of them for fucking years. So someone was like, I'll give you half of a 4-story building. Sure. Like, you want to hit golf balls into a net? Fuck it. Like, why not?
I remember playing acoustic gigs it was like Jimmy Margaritaville at the casino. Did you ever play there?
I never played Margaritaville.
Yeah.
I played a little bit.
I shouldn't have ever been there. But it was good money. And I would take my tip. So when I'd leave, I put it on black. And I would either, double my money or I would lose it.
Yeah.
I did that for like 10 weeks. I don't know what I ended up doing, but I remember being at that Margaritaville and they had like Topgolf. All these people came in Topgolf. They like did like a blitz. They came into the restaurant unannounced and started handing out Topgolf and taking pictures. It was like a little media campaign. And everybody was like, what's Topgolf? And next thing you know, they're like all over. Have you ever played it?
I played it once, but it's like it's pretty much the same lineup every time you see it. It's like a Topgolf and a Chewy's and something else. Like all these restaurants move together. It's the weirdest shit.
Yeah. I need to go back because I was a baseball kid, never golfed.
Yeah.
Then when my dad retired, my mom and dad they're probably golfing right now. I was like, you know what? after 2020, I was like, I'm going to go golfing sometimes. I can get away with 2 hours here and there.
Yeah.
And I love it, but it's, it's like, it's the worst thing because next thing you know, you're in it. And now I want to go to Top Golf and see what I'm going to do.
It seems like an addictive thing. Like, I don't like hand-eye sports like that, man. I can't swing a bat or a club. Like, yeah, exactly. I just fuck that kind of thing up.
But dad's always like, this is golf. Like, you take he's like, you can do this 10 times in a row or 9 times in a row. And on the 10th time, you go like this. Like, that's the game of golf.
Well, that's why so many people are out there drinking. Because, like, it's so deeply frustrating. You're doing the same thing over and over. You're just hitting that ball where you want to hit that ball. But everything about it changes.
And if you're athletic, like, if other things, like, you pick up a golf club and it's like you've never touched it. And then there's cats that like just don't look like they've got anything. And they're like, and that's it. It's just get out there and do the thing.
Yeah, that's why it's an old man sport, though. You know what I mean? Like, I think there is something special about that trait or your instrument where it's like, I want to have something that I'm going to take into my 80s as something that I enjoy for me. Because so much.
I'm gonna whittle wood.
No shit. And lose a fucking thumb, you know? That's like watching a dude in his late 80s, he's been drinking some bourbon. He's like, no more nail. You know what I mean?
Reminds me of the grandpa off of Son-in-Law.
I've never seen Son-in-Law.
Whoa, dude, Pauly Shore. Oh,
I'm 10 years younger than you. Know what are you talking?
I mean, there's still movies out. Like,
I don't watch movies, man. I'm shitty about that.
Yeah.
The closest thing I got, is it Bad Santa, where he's like, I whittled you a wood pickle.
Those are good. There's people that love Bad Santa. Dude, I love movies, man. Movies are like, movies with good dialogue. I get tons of song ideas from. Like, I'll yell at my kids to, like, if there's an intro to a movie that's like you can tell it's like a narrative or good dialogue. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like I'll quiet the room down because I'm like, there's some guy or gal that spent, a month writing this.
Yes.
And you guys are talking over it. Like, it's like the artist dad.
Dude, that's a weird thing though. Like,
when the football game's on, I'm like, whatever.
But compare that to, like, I can't imagine how much it'll make a parent angry and make a beautiful meal, and the kids are like, I don't want to eat that shit, like something like that where you pour your love and then the people that consume it don't appreciate that love. And I think the same thing goes for songs, like the one that you spent 3 years crafting, recrafting. The one that you barely like that you wrote in 10 minutes is what they want you to play. And then your choice of what to give them is up to you. But what are you going to get out of the show tonight? A standing O or an empty room for that song you keep working on?
I think that also goes to like how we're all groomed. Like we all struggle to say no to things because a lot of artists, I think, is like, well, I got to play that. It's like, no, you don't. Because I got a couple songs I have a song called Winnebago, and it's super poppy. It's fun. My mom and dad would love it if they were sitting on a boat, listening or at the pool. Cool song. Great song. I don't want to play that song. I just don't. And I keep joking I'm going to make a record someday called Songs That My Dad Loves. And it's just going to be all these like douchey country songs that lyrics are great. Like poetically, it's amazing, but it's like, I don't know if I want to do this for the next 30 years. And I've been telling myself like, nope, I'm not, you're allowed to say no. Like, but everybody's like, well, okay, I might get $20 in my tip jar here. It's like,
well, man, like, let's turn that into the question of like, are you playing at these clubs to satiate needs that people think they have? Or are you being paid to play these clubs to entertain people in a way that's you? Because one of these is replaceable as hell. Like you want 150, that guy wants 125. You both play wagon wheel. Guess who got the gig?
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Versus, songs that you love. One person at that venue loves it. They sing your praises. They champion you to the people that matter. And there's so much of a market for people to reserve the same 150 songs. And it's just like, I'm not fucking here for that. I can't keep doing that to myself because I know that doesn't earn me a place in their lives in the slightest. I'm working at Aldi at that point.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think if you're doing it, like you're a professional musician, man. Like the answer to that changes because it has to. Mm-hmm. Because of art, everybody wants to talk about it. I relate a lot. I learned so much. I didn't think about it. I worked for my family business for 10 years, and I was in a ditch for 7 years, laying water main, like
literally in a ditch,
literally. And I didn't think I was learning anything. I just was making pretty good money and just heavy, hard work. But man, looking back, I learned so much. And some days you just got to put the pipe in the ground, you know. And I think about that all the time.
Sounds like a way bigger innuendo than I would have expected too. But
yeah, that's the tagline for Bangers.
Just put your pipe in the ground.
Yeah. I mean, but for real, everybody wants to get, because you're holding a guitar. It's like, well, you need to be, you know, because this is all we've all been marketed to. It's like, you know, you need to be Dylan. It's like, well, even Dylan was selling something.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah, dude, Dylan, I don't know. A lot of people, they think he's like this folky. Like, there's pictures of that guy with eyeliner on. You know, he went through the 80s and he was making a living. And so for me, I think, I know you were like really asking specifically for me, but I'll just share. It's like I kind of bully myself into those rooms that are like entertainment rooms to make a living, and then I play my stuff there. But you do gotta, like, I think I'm probably on the lower level of that world of like I play just enough to get by, and I bully myself in it. But if I change that 30%, I could probably go make killer money.
Yeah.
But it's cool because I think now people are becoming more open to the artist experience, and so it's like, yeah, in a 3-hour show, you can get away with a lot more.
Yeah. Well, I think you talk about like what's Nashville have outside of a community of songwriters that's really important to making the Music City thing work, and it's like musical tourists pay for the livings of people that are here to cater to it. And that's not just the musicians that are playing Sweet Child of Mine for another $20 on the same gig. Yeah. It's the bartenders that are in the room that tolerate, you know, art that they may love or they may not like, but they are there to make sure the experience is top notch. And it's like, for some reason, I really got pissed off at myself this year for making a living off of my heroes' material and not contributing anything that I thought was in that caliber.
Right.
And it's like, do I deserve to play the hits if I can't write the hits? And then who do I pay if I need to make my living off the hits? Because that doesn't feel right either.
Do you think that do you get to that place mentally when you're in rooms that you've played for the last 4 years? Or is it like, because what I'm saying is like, you've built that to now you're in there. You're like, I'm going to get this show. I'm going to get this gig. Like you have those you have people on your phone that's like, hey, here, oh, that's my phone.
Is that really your ringer?
It's my reminder. It's like just a reminder that I set like reminders. I'm a dork like that.
I was going to say, you're also a dork for that ringtone, bro.
Welcome to Bangers. Well, no. So what I'm saying is like this is I'm gonna ask you. Flip the mic. Are you there now? I hear you saying that because you're there. You're at that place in your career where you're like, you know what? I've been here. But what I think you did is for the first however many years, you went in there and did the job. Mm-hmm. You got the gig and you did the work. And now you're there. I think where you're like, I'm assuming you're there where it's like, you know what, I need to play my own stuff, and I'm allowed to because I've earned this slot and I put in that time.
Yeah.
And I think that time and that grind respect is like some street stuff that a lot of people, I'll just speak for Cincinnati, a lot of people need to take a harder look at and realize like there's so many people that see you put shows out and I'll put shows out and they're like, oh, hey man, I'd love to get on that. How do I get on that? It's like, well, dude, you should have showed up 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're at that place, dude, I think. And that's why I hear you sharing that perspective. It's like, dude, don't even ask that question, man. Mm-hmm. Hang out 10 more times and then maybe you can. But then there's also that's one of the things I'm more into that place now where it's like, don't be too humble. It's okay to be like, hey, can I get that? Can I, who cares? Who am I? Like, ask me.
Yeah.
And let me decide if you're annoying or not.
Well, I think, one of the beautiful things with Crooner Circus is like you have guys that are really green and folks that are really not. And those people need to be in the room together so you can ask uncomfortable questions on both sides. But
and like seeing somebody that's 19, I think about this a lot with it's everything. But I think about this with Nashville a lot. Like somebody moved to that town April of 2020 and they were 21 years old and they don't even care what it was like before.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a kid in his bedroom. You hear there's different versions of this, but there's a kid in his bedroom making a record right now that's going to have 1 million streams in 2 weeks. that has no idea about the rest of that. And so when I was coming up, in my 20s, I was meeting guys at clubs that were still complaining about Napster and iTunes. And I just remember being like, just shut up. Like, none of this matters. Let's just go. Don't blame it. You don't but when you get into that shop, and I just constantly, that's the thing. Like, we've observed that happen now. Mm-hmm. We're past MTV. We can observe it and study the history. And did it do any good to complain about it? No. You just keep making art and keep making the thing.
Yeah. I think also being wise enough to like ask for the things that you need to make the next step from the people that have gotten the most out of your product. Like your number one fans will go to the ends of the earth for you. Yeah. And you need to lean on that support system in better and better every single time. Don't ask the same 15 things from them. Ask them something new. Ask them what the song is they want to hear, and then write a song for someone that fucking loves you, or get uncomfortable in that. But
dude, something I've been doing? I heard Jelly Roll say this on an interview, and I've never even thought about it, but because we don't think that our numbers are like great. Like, there's times where it's like, oh, God, a lot of people listen to my stuff. And then there's times where it's like, but I kind of have this consistency. You talk about like Spotify listeners or whatever, and you could say those numbers don't matter, but everybody's like, well, when they get big, when I have millions, then it'll matter where I need to tour. But I've been looking at my Spotify, my Apple, like most played, like my artist account, and building my set list around that. And even if the numbers are in the thousands, they're not millions. I've been doing that, man, because Jelly Roll said he did that. He's like, I'll come out and I was like, I've always tried to make this whole experience beginning to end, my set, and it's this whole climactic thing, and how we start out. I love building moments for my fans, and it's all about moments at my shows. But he was talking about, he's like, dude, he said, I'll blow my wad in the first 3 songs, like I'm gonna hit him with my top 3. Like, he might even come out with his number 1. And I was like, whoa, hold on, like, I've never thought about it that way. So I just in this last year, I started going to literally when I make a set list, I go and I look, okay, what's getting played? And then there's songs that I realize that like, I haven't played that. And that's what people are actually listening to. Mm-hmm. When you talk about like there's real fans and you're asking them. And so I shared that with my band, and they were like, yeah, man, these sets have been like, there was some magic that I never experienced before. And it's not necessarily the most flowy thing, musical, like artistic thing, but it's like boom, boom, boom. And the set just feels fire all of a sudden. It's like, whoa, I never thought that. Because I'm giving them, even if there's 50 of them, I'm giving them something that they're like, I'm here for those songs.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting the way that like, we're all overloaded with metric data that could inform how you're going to play things out. And taking that kind of, like, again, the number doesn't matter. The information matters. Mm-hmm. And giving people what they're asking for is the best way to show people that you're going to continue to be there for them, that you're listening to it. Like, like Aiden's made a big difference in my life, and coming in and saying like, here is the data as far as when you should post and why you should post and how we should keep pushing. And this worked and that didn't work. And it's like, I went from getting 600 views a month on my YouTube to 30,000. And that's mainly because of like YouTube shorts and things like that. But if you aren't willing to compromise your idea of how you're getting to successful places, then you're going to keep turning that circle. You're going to be in the same spot that you were 6 months, a year ago, 10 years ago. And it's weird with how quickly those things change.
I see that in what YouTube Shorts is great right now. I see that in what you do. And I think a lot of local artists, probably at a way higher level too, is like everybody, part of it's financially because it takes some money to do some things, but like you always should be testing. Test it. Try something, test it. It's like people don't care what I did 3 years ago. So try it. Try this, try that. Maybe you post the same thing and test it out. But that's what I mean. Like trying that new set list thing. It's like, why not try that? And I think a lot of people are just stuck in that. And they're like, well, no, nothing's happening. The other thing too, I love that you said that. It's like giving them something new, asking something new of them, of your fans, and building that relationship. And one of the things I think is crazy is like you'll hear people like, well, I don't have, I only got two shows this month, like on a local level, and or I'm not, I only have this many streams. Or I could say it's like I only have 1,800 monthly listeners on Spotify. It's like let's cut that in half. Let's say it's 1,000. There's 1,000 people in this world listening to something that you made.
Yeah.
Like that.
And if you saw them all in a room, you'd be shocked at how different that feels. But because we have the sickness of what's going on with someone else, talk to me about how do you quantify success? How do you teach people to quantify success and to come out fulfilled but challenged on the back end of that?
Oh man, so many like jokes just went through my head of what a successful night looks like.
Let's turn back to the innuendos. Let's talk about laying pipe again.
I am that human being for sure. What does success look like for me? Or
how do you?
That was a really heavy question.
How do you get yourself in a place that you can quantify your own success?
Yeah.
How do you coach yourself?
One of the things I journal a lot, and I write down a lot. I put B-I-Z because I'm lazy and just don't write everything out. I have a horrible handwriting. I put Biz and Life. There's a guy named Michael Hyatt and Company is his company. I dive in. He has a book called Free to Focus that I absolutely love. High Performance Habits, Free to Focus, and the Bible are like the three books. Like it's the jam. It's my jam. But he talks about the double win. Their company's like the double win, and so I think for me, that's it, right? That's where I'm at, and I've been there for a lot longer than I think I realized. Of like, it all has to make sense. That's success for me. And if you live if we're setting healthy goals and living a healthy life and, investing in yourself and your health and all of that, like there's a double win there. Like I have a single coming out and I hope it does really well, but also like I'm going to be at the baseball tournament this weekend.
Yeah. Throw out the title really quick before we just blow by a new single. What's the name of the song again?
Yeah. Just wrap it. Yeah. It's called Why Don't You Come Over? Another innuendo snuck in there.
Well, so we got and I saw some trailer of the new video, correct?
Yeah.
You in front of that white ass van. Yeah. Okay. You're looking like the baseball practice dad.
yeah, doing it. Why Don't You Come Over? It's out, and I'm excited about it. It's kind of my last song to write about, I think, for a while, about being a punk rock 19-year-old kid. Like this is that song bottled up finally, and then I'm really excited about the next songs that are coming out. I think Matty Simpson called me the other day. He's like, I think this song's cooler than you think it is. Like when we were talking, I was like, thanks, man. Cause you know how it's like when you get in your head, you're like, it's just not, I called it like the setup single for the next ones. And it is a little bit of that world, talking about metrics of like, just kind of waking everybody up again.
Totally.
Like, here's this thing. I've been doing it. Here's some music. And there you get to a point in your career where there are people that literally feed my family. Like they literally feed like what they do and what I put out, they're there for.
Yeah.
And that turns into life. And and that's success too. Like that's the double win a little bit. Like I look around and everybody I know in my life that I'm close with is because of music at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even like in my faith, like I lead worship and I got a guitar in my hand. Like there's a reason why we're here. And so music's just really brought all of that to my life, and it's amazing. So yeah, I think a double win, like that's success for me. It's like I could have a gold record, but if I'm divorced by the end of it, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? And I lived that life for a long time of like just 100 miles per hour. It was a rodeo, and I made a lot of mistakes. I hurt a lot of people, and I think I'm on the other side of that now, where it's like, this is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's, any day. And I also say something I say too, if I can, any day that I finish a song is a good day.
Yeah.
And if you're an artist and musician, it's like, well, this isn't happening this time. It's like, you just got one. That'll turn into other things, and it'll come out eventually, or it won't, or somebody might cut it or whatever. Or you might take another idea from the verse and turn it into another thing. But like, if you get the song, that's a great day.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because like I heard someone saying recently, like the muse is always there. Inspiration is always there. It's just whether you can flip on and catch that. And if you can do that, your ability to be an artist and to serve your vocation, something that religious or not, whatever put you on this planet and gave you breath in your lungs, gave you a chance to do it, So if you can't feel that as the deepest yearning of your being, then you should reevaluate the song or what you're doing it for. It's like you make a good point of this isn't for everybody. The love of music, that is for all of us. The love for songwriting, that is for all of us. But a career, but your everything, it doesn't need to be your everything to be something. But it's really hard when you're on the fence of, do I quit my job and just pursue this with everything I got? Or, I feel very fortunate that when I was a kid, when my parents are saying it's time for you to get a job, and I pointed at this, they said, go fucking get it, and that's, you can't describe how much good parents make a difference in your life. But I think just having people that'll make you make a passionate, pivotal decision is important.
It's good that you talk about that too, because so many people live like these gutter lives. And I remember like in high school, there was some kids that like their stepdad was like drunk on the kitchen floor and we were having band practice. And it's like, I had a pretty solid upbringing, and we all have our things or whatever, but that never happened at my house.
Yeah.
And so I think it's cool that you're like willing to say that, because a lot of cats, we look up to some people that had some things handed to them sometimes. And I think I love it when somebody's like I had help.
Yeah.
Because it makes it a lot easier to be like, yeah, dude, that's amazing. Not like this mysterious thing. And then on the other side of that, like being around people in your family, it's like, it's so good to see that and hear that. And hopefully people hear that and they'll be that for their family and their kids, just showing up. It made me, when you're talking, it made me think about, I just had this conversation with like in a parking lot. Somebody was like, was after a Crooner Circus one night and talking about like, oh, this just felt this sense of like, I want this, or why am I not getting this, or like, why isn't this happening? Or I want that person's they got that spark or that special thing. I really think more and more it's like talent has hardly anything to do with it. I mean, you have to be able to write a song, you have to be able to play a song, but like the guys that are on the radio, like talent, they're talented, right? The talent has to be there, but like, it's not really what gets it there. That's not really what makes that happen. And that's when you hear people talk about like luck and falling into it. And I challenged them that night. I was like, when you look at that person and you're thinking like, man, they just got it together. They just got that. They're cool and they're doing this thing. And are you, maybe are you willing to actually know that they've just outworked you? And I think there's so much more to it than that. It's so much more blue collar than anybody imagines. It's like, oh man, they're getting up. Like, I brought up Jelly Roll. He's having a fire moment in the world, the biggest moment of his life. But that guy is grind.
Yeah.
He's outworked me. And it's not, I want to be Jelly Roll. I should be on my songs deserve that. It's like, what are the 5 things that Jelly Roll did that I'm not doing today? Like, that's when it changes, I think. And that's, I mean, I see you breaking it down and like looking at the pieces, and that's what it takes, dude. You're in the game.
I appreciate that, man. And, one thing that when you talk about the other factors of life that make you success, that make you happy, that fill this in, it's like, I had a conversation with a guy on Tuesday, and I do want to bitch about this, actually. I was playing at Mount Lookout the other day.
This is for that guy, wherever he's at.
There's 10 people in the bar. And I refuse to play a cover until somebody asks me for something particular that they want. I said, you get the homegrown until you ask me for something different. And most of the time people are cool with that. And I tune them out, and I go into my own world. It's like, today has to be the best show of my life, or else you didn't show up. Play your ass off for these 10 people. Okay. I don't care. They don't clap. They don't make a peep. They just keep going on with their bar night until someone else shows them to clap for a song. The last song of my first set. I take a break, and these 2 guys come up to me, and they both want to say something nice. They both want to tell me that they enjoyed the set, that they feel like I'm talented. And then they turn it into, I know somebody that's going to blow you up, and I'm going to be the difference maker. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm sick of people that want to tell me that they have the secret to my success. When the only thing that I showed up here tonight to do was to find someone that enjoyed this and for them to come back out again. So don't promise me the world. Just come back and see me. It doesn't have to be that you have a second cousin who works for NBC, who knows this person, who's going to flip the switch on. It's like, I don't need your false hope. I don't need your ideas of success. I need you to be right here with me right now. And if you see it and you enjoy it, make some fucking noise about it. But it's so frustrating for people to tell you to go somewhere and you're going to find what you think you want. It's like, no, I'm finding what I want right here. When I look around and my friends are having beautiful families and kicking ass on stage, and they're making Cincinnati what they want it to be,
Yeah, and you're like, you have a band, and you at times where you're employing people. Like, It's part of it. Dude, that's great. Did you say that to him? Were you like...
Oh, dude, I couldn't even begin to tell him that. And I said, this is my home. Nothing's going to take me from my home. And I'm going to bring everything I ever wanted from the world right back here. But thank you so much for listening. And I hope you come back again. I give him a card. I give him a sticker, a lighter. Fuck it. But
on the butt.
Give him something.
Good game.
Exactly. But people that think that they know what you need have no idea what they need for themselves to quit doing that to people.
Yeah, dude. One of the things when I was in Denmark last year with Nashville Nights, shout out Nashville Nights.
Rad looking shows, man.
I'm going back in September.
Woo!
So, yeah, dude. I'm on like I had a moment there last year, man. Like I'm on the post, like the thing. You go to their website. It's like I'm like Caden Lucas. So you had Caden on the podcast. His picture's up there. I said, "You made it worldwide, baby." Like, no, they're just that shows such those guys and that group, the songwriting. It's just incredible. But I'll go down that path if I don't watch out. I'm off of
You're fine.
What I was getting ready to hit.
It's so interesting the way that Eastern Europe like that loves country music, though, man.
That's exactly it. So, one thing I loved about Denmark was, and what I learned over there was their music venues are like elite. Dude, they sound so good. Even the small little clubs, like 150 cap little room, amazing. There's this place called Dexter, and it's like it just sounds incredible. And they take their audio engineering very highly with their government and like some of the like social sides of things. They're training. Like if you want to be an audio engineer, like you can get the best of the best training. And but one of the things I learned to love and that I observed over there was like it's all capitalism in the States, right? So we want to I own a pizza shop. There's a corner over here. What if I put a guy in the corner and play guitar? Maybe he'll bring in 20 more people. Nobody cares about you. You're there to sell pizza. And I think we should get to that place of like, that's why I'm here. Like there's a couple places I play during the summer. I don't promote about. I go and I do my job.
Yeah.
And I can do that thing if I need to. One of the things I learned in Denmark was like their music venues are music venues and their coffee shops are coffee shops. I didn't see anybody the whole time I was there on the weekends in any of those bars, any of those the pubs are pubs. You go to the pub to drink and watch soccer games.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to listen to the guy in the corner. Now, I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there's some of those things. But it made me think like, oh, that's why that happens. Because you're a dad and you go into a brewery. You're not there for the guy in the corner. And honestly, how dare us to assume that you are? And what you're saying is like, I'm just going to own it. And that's great. You do whatever version that you want to do. But I learned that of like, man, we're spoiled beyond spoiled here because of that. Mm-hmm. It's like this guy's doing something that you wish you could do, play guitar and sing songs, and you just walked right past him. Like at least I'll say stuff to people like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I'll just instantly put them. So if they walk into a room, good to see y'all. Right in the middle of I'll be singing some song right in the middle. Hey, what's up?
Yeah,
just to let them know, like I see you. I'm a human being. But I challenge places a lot. I'll turn down gigs because I'm like, I don't think you guys should even have music here. Put the jukebox on. I feel like if I'm at a brewery, I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter. I'm an artist. I love live music. Live music's great. If I'm at a brewery and I'm hanging out with my friends and I want to BS and tell stories, like I don't care if that's even happening. And sometimes I wish it would take a whole generation of people saying no to shift it because there's 17-year-old kids that just, well, if I could just go play that gig, I'll take it. There's 40-year-olds doing that. Like it's not an age thing. It's an experience thing. It's like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
But I think when you talk about the freedom we experience in the States versus what that is, like you're saying, like everything has a mutually agreed upon place versus in the States, you can buy that first guitar and walk in the busiest corner of your town and let it rip, and you might end up in the club that you need to be in next week.
Yeah, there's that. Right.
And it's such an odd thing, though. But like,
you could be on a TV show. Like,
it's
all.
Well, fuck that. I mean, the TV show generation, I think, is hopefully going to either shift into something that's actually productive for artists. Like, what was that song show that the dude from One Republic was on?
Yeah. I didn't watch it, but I've seen it.
Yeah. It seems like at least that's pointing the direction of we want to see people be themselves, and we want to find out whether we like that or not. Versus American Idol saying like, "Hey, we still need the fat guy with the high voice for this season. Do we have him on the lineup? Like next." Okay.
Oh, man.
We'll consider you. Do you mind putting on 50 pounds before we start this season? Like NBD. Like we're going to find a way to do this.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're casting. You know, it has nothing to do with you or what you can do after this. Like, Carrie Underwood is the best example of how this can go great, and she's the last one that'll get to do it like that because she's Carrie Underwood.
I do think that's shifting literally right now because, you know, you have people on TikTok, Instagram, social media, YouTube, whatever, that have an actual following, and the shows are going after those people. That's the thing the general public doesn't realize. Like, they go after those people.
Oh, yeah.
Thing happen. But I do think, again, enough data points, you know, early on, a lot of those guys got screwed. They couldn't do anything. They held on to them just for a year after the show, so they couldn't go do anything. They couldn't go tour, and it's like old record industry stuff that you talk. But I do think it's changing where people are actually taking those shows because that still is the billboard. Like, if you're on Idol, it's the biggest billboard you can have. So
it still is zeitgeist. It still is culture behind it.
And it's still, you know, because the reality is there's still, you know, I was going to say millions, but hundreds of thousands of soccer moms sitting and dads and watching.
Yeah.
And talking about it.
Soccer dads don't watch that shit. Soccer dads are putting on shin guards, babe. No.
But yeah, so I think that's I see it changing. I mean, I've never tapped into any of that. I mean, those would be good. I'd love to. That'd be good problems to have, I guess.
I had my heart broken by The Voice as a young kid, but I think like so many people did in those fucking lines, man. And
you talking about that guy, the guy coming to you at the store? How many people are like, you know what you should do? You should be on American.
Yeah.
You should be on The Voice.
And I should be allowed to hit those people. Like, it should be totally fine. Like, not front hand. I respect backhand. Why do you think I wear these rings? I teach lessons at my gigs, man. It drives me nuts. And also, I think about, you sign that contract at the end. You give someone a percentage of what you're worth. It's like you rob people of their own ambition to do well when you start taking money off the top. Like think of all the times that someone's had a record label that's going to take 40% of streaming or 50% of streaming or whatever it is. Like, so what am I motivated to get 100,000 streams so I can make my end of the $5? It's like, no, like, the greatest thing that we have in this country is the ability to do well for yourself. So don't rob people of what they have earned for themselves. Yeah. Man, it drives me nuts.
Yeah. But it just takes a couple guys changing it, or people changing it. Like, I know I have the numbers. You want me, but I'm not going to do it. I mean, that's what changes the record industry forever, when people finally, like, say no to something. And then everybody goes, they turned that deal down, and then it turns into something else. And I don't even know that world, man. I mean, we can all have, you know, cliche assumptions about what it is, but until the paper's on the table, I don't even understand it.
Yeah, but as someone that was in a band, it's like, even in a band setting, everyone gets a quarter of the publishing and a quarter of the masters. It's like, so who gives a fuck if it does well? Because I only get 25% of that. And it's like, man, that's one of the issues I think we're running into on local levels. It's like, own your output. Own your trajectory, because if you give away a percentage here, a percentage there, you're going to end up wondering at the end of the day why you only have 49% and you don't have the ability to make choices for yourself that make a huge difference, man.
I think there's just that many people that just don't work hard too. Like take 10 bands with 5 guys in Cincinnati, it's 50 people. There's not 50 people that are working that hard.
Yeah, and
then so you get into that experience. You're Matt Waters. Like, you're working hard.
Mm.
That's why you don't have fun. I mean, you have a band, you know, but like I'm myself, and I'm working hard. And we eventually, you look to your left and your right, and all those people that used to be there aren't there anymore. And that could be for different reasons, but it's like you're just out working them all.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also, like, once you have a band behind you, it's kind of like when we were talking about the cookout. And like, you know, this is a festival that I'm putting on for the first time. I'm wearing that hat of, what do I have to offer bands that want to be here? And it's like
water.
for the water, and it's a BYOB situation.
Bottles of water.
Only the little ones.
Yeah.
So you have to use at least 3 at a time. God damn it! These are my dirty cables. I bought these from a guy in Indianapolis, and I knew they were going to fart out on me eventually. But are we in? We're out. We're in. We're out. Okay, I'm going to quit touching that shit.
Yeah, I'm here for the dirty cables.
Man, I love a 60 cycle hum. I think it's so romantic. But, you know, when you're talking about bringing out 5 guys versus bringing out just your ass and your guitar, there has to be different expectations in place, because you can't come home hungry while also being the guy that's doing the booking and making that happen. Like, people need to be fairly compensated so they can step back up and do it again. Because if someone goes out and sacrifices their life for one thing, it's like you only get one life. Okay, and to figure out what you have to give has to do with not giving it all away when you still need to play those cards, when you need space for yourself and to feed your family and all that.
Yeah, that's real, man. I mean, it's just, that's a hard thing to do in our world. It's easier when there's, a salary that's getting funded by the government and you're a school teacher, so you get paid and you go do the job. Or
yeah, I don't think that's the right example, though. Those people don't make shit. You know what I mean?
Well, but they make an income, so they go do the job because the income's there. And then a lot of the education system is about that long. I'm in, and I'm going to there's a finish line drawn. Like, I don't know what my finish line looks like.
Yeah.
But I do believe that I should pay people, right? So there's the struggle of, if I have 5 people in my band and I pay each one of them $150 a show forever, like, for those shows, whether I'm making $5,000 or $500, I still have to pay those guys. Mm-hmm. Well, then you get into that where, you have to make $1,000 to pay anybody. And that's so difficult. As original, I mean, just real deal. I don't care how you cut it up. You're an original artist and you want to go play original shows. If you gotta pay 5 people that, like, it's hard. It can't happen. It almost doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And, but I do think if you can figure that out, that's one way to get people to be with you and be invested. Because I look back, I talked about doing like a party where I just have everybody that's ever played with me, because it'd be a pretty big party at this point. Like, we'd need a keg because there's that many people. But it would be cool to look at. But there's a point there. I'm looking back at that sometimes. I just did my taxes for last year, and sometimes I look back and it's like, man, we're grinding. We're not, we live off less than we ever have, and we're figuring it out. We're blessed, and it just, But I look back and I'm like, there's a lot of money that I'm putting in other people's pockets. That's really awesome.
Yeah, 1099s feel good, man.
Yeah, it's like my dad used to say, he's like, I want to pay $1 million in taxes a year because that means I'm making a ton of money. Like, you think about it, and that's cool. It's cool to think about. I am actually providing that for people, and they're growing from that, and I've committed to that. But if I had a band of 5 people for 5 years, I can look back and tell you, if they sat at a table across from me right now and said, I worked as hard as you did, I could look them in the eyes and say, you're a liar, because it just didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think what's hard. I'm getting back to 5. This isn't a complaint. This is I'm just observing. I'm just observing this. Like that. Do you
dirty cables, bro?
Let's go. No, you're good. I'm trying to make this make sense. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just trying to break down a little bit of the reality for myself, even of like, what if you had 5 people, and so many people need the ball to do the job? Those people work for other people. Those people go to work for and do whatever, whether they're, whatever their job is. But man, to do that in 2023, to be a band of 5 people, to find 5 people that are working that hard, it just doesn't exist. I don't think it ever existed. There's, in every legendary band, there was people that outwork the other people. But how do you do that? Like, I'm kind of in my own head right now thinking about, like, how do you pull that off? Because I've committed to paying people for a long time what they've asked, take care, serve, buy the pizza, do the thing, do the extra,
and pay the flat. Like, there's a flat rate cost associated with that, because you have respect for these people and the job they're doing. And if you don't show yourself that same respect, then you end up starving at the end of the day, unable to offer that same thing.
I think the people that are the best at that are their own artists. Mm-hmm. Like, I bet I could join your band. I'm not good enough to be in your band because your guys are killers, and serve Matt Waters really well. Because I know how important that is. And if you can find people that are like, I want you to be the QB so I can live my life over here, that's a special combination of human being to get amongst and be with. Because it's like, man, and I'm saying this because, like, I do believe it could change my path. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, for the first time in my life, I'm in a place where I'm like, I'm paying my band and I'm going. Mm-hmm. And I got to move. And I do have some people that are like, you need to go. You need to go do what you got to do to build this thing. And in the past, I had a little bit of like, why am I not involved in that? It's like, well, because you're not working as hard as I am. Period.
Well, and then there's also like, you get the flat rate, you pay your guys a flat rate, and then your guys after a certain amount of time want to make more than that flat rate. People always want to make more money. It's like they don't even realize while you've been paying that flat, those are the gigs you've been losing money on. It's like I pay you more when I can pay you more, but there's also a very set amount here that I've lost my ass on because I love what this product is, and I think you serve that well. But you coming asking me for more means I need to start to figure out guys that are grateful for that again, because it's a difficult compromise.
There's something I got a new drummer that's going to roll with me for some shows, and he's younger. And honestly, I'm like, dude, I told Chris Harding, our tour manager, front of house, our buddy, I said he's hungry, and we need a little hungry right now.
Yeah, man.
Because and everybody says, well, it's because your name's on the thing. Like, dude, my name doesn't have to be on the thing, and I'm still going to outwork you. Because that's just a fact.
Yeah.
And I'm going to own that for the rest of my life now. And I used to be really humble about that. Like, well, we can share this. It's like, no, unless you're showing me that you're in. And how there is a thing of that, of like guys that are musicians locally, not even locally, man. Like some of the national touring guys, like guys that are just popping on the radio. Those players, like Nashville cats, some of those guys don't make crazy. They make way less money than people think.
They make $1.50, so $1.25.
Facts. And
little per diem.
You get a guy in Cincinnati that's paying you $150. I'm gonna call out Cincinnati. I'll be $225 for this gig. I'm like, you're out of your mind, dude. There's somebody that plays circles around you that would drive 5 hours for that show. Mm-hmm. And it's different for everybody, but if I'm a musician coming to Matt Waters' circle, you have a brand and a quality and an integrity. And you're like, dude, like, I hope my people look and say, he's investing in this because I'm creating, I'm making. How is those things happening?
Yeah.
You're going to have another record come out. I have a song coming out. So it's like, or you can go play with that other artist that's going to pay you that. And guess what? They don't have anything going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I scratch my head about those cats. It's like, get in something that has an opportunity of like joy and this thing working out at another level. We all dreamed of sleeping in the bunks on a tour bus as a kid. Like, if there's not a shot at that happening, like, what do you think you're doing? And hopefully you find some people like that's tough, man. Because I do, like, I want to pay people. I'm paying somebody $20 more than I used to because they've been around for so long. It's like $20 a show. Oh, that's not that lot. It's like it's the only thing I can do, but that's a gift.
Yeah,
it's tough, man.
Well,
I don't know how you pull it off sometimes,
dude. I think we're both in that same boat though, where it doesn't have to be Noah Smith's name on it, but the intrinsic motivation of getting this done has stemmed from this being Noah Smith. And so you bring people in to serve that job well. And as long as they serve that job well, you make sacrifices in order to make them feel rectified for what they have done in that.
Yeah.
But like you and I had a wonderful experience where you were working on a song and you gave me a chance to come in and just play some guitar parts. And depending on what part of the world you want, there might be expectations that like, no, I helped write that. And it's like, no, you came in and served your job, and you tell someone what the cost of that is, and then you hope that you did a good enough job for that dollar amount for them to do something great with it.
Right.
And if you're dissatisfied with that, you need to work on your own value proposition. But not being
you get to do that 20 more times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're not situated to be an entity that can name your price and do great work and also take your hands off, it's like, then you need some more focus on you, rather than expecting someone else to feed you, because your bandmates aren't daddy, the government ain't daddy. Like, no one's going to take care of you but you,
Dads, we're in the weeds on that stuff. Now, I have it written down. I have this wall in my studio, just like, you've seen it before. I was like, write inspiring things on. And
it's a mess.
One of the things I wrote on there just says eat, E-A-T, eat. And it's just when I see it, it says eat, because it's my reminder poetically to myself. Like, it's my reminder that, like, no, it's okay for you to get what you get, like, you need, and feed your family. Literally eat, but also it's like, no, dude, you don't have to be that humble. You can actually, you got something.
Yeah.
And you should be proud of that because you worked hard. Not a cocky, like, I got, don't touch, but it's like, nah, man, we've grinded for this.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've done it consistently, like, I think about Dallas Moore, right? Dallas Moore. That dude has grinded so hard. I don't know a ton about Dallas. We've talked before. We've done some shows before, but there's cats in this city that would think that Dallas should be open for them. And it's like, that guy's got something that I might not ever have. He's grinded at a high level. Adam Lee from Sunday Drives, me and him talk about this a lot. There is a thing, especially in like a local music look, of relevancy. And he pointed this out to me, and I've never even thought about it. But like, when you can be Dallas Moore's been relevant for a long time. You know, he's not a household name, but like that dude, he's done something every year. And do you know how hard it is to stay relevant for that long? Like top of mind, where it's like, who's the cat doing it? Oh, Dallas is doing it.
Mm.
You know, and I think just be straight, like you and me have some of that. And it's like, Adam told me, and there was a time where I was kind of down about some stuff. And he's like, dude, like, I've been relevant. And I was like, wow, there's actually value in that. I didn't really think about it that way. Like, you know how hard that is?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard, dude. That's like some grind shit. Like, that's hard. That's like waking up and that's like when everybody else is going home from the show, you're on your phone and text, figuring out the next thing and the next move, and everybody else is home sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that relevancy that, like, it's a different thing. I've never thought about that. It's new to me. It's like I've been thinking about that. Like, whoa, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because there's value to that. You can make a living just with that being your goal. Like, I'm going to stay relevant. What do you have to do to stay relevant? You have to drop consistent music, consistently make shows, never water your brand down. Like, all these things can happen. You're like, now you were relevant in a city for 10 years or whatever it turns out to be. Like Dallas, dude. Like, that guy's a king in some ways in his career, and I'm sure he wants to do way bigger things than he ever did, but the path that he's been on is like, it's undeniable that he's grinded.
Yeah.
And I want people to respect that more than Spotify followers.
Dude, well, there's something that we don't understand about the veterans that were pre-internet that are still out there grinding, but it looks like radio silence, and that's a really hard thing about today, is you're trying to find ways to stay relevant. But like, I got to give kudos to you, and one of the biggest inspirations that you've given me as a friend in the peripheral is you can be relevant by championing other people and by handing off the spotlight and screaming their name from the mountaintops. Like, you're not going to be slipped out of someone's mind if you put the focus on them. It's like, that's why this show has appeared. Because I wanted to talk about how great people are in my life. Yeah. And it's like, and it's convenient that I get to sit on the other side of the camera, but it does involve a lot of work and a lot of dumb hours making that happen. But being able to facilitate appreciation of the main thing doesn't even mean that it has to be your main thing. You know what I mean? Just feeding
being a champion for it.
Yeah, feed the community that feeds you, man, in an absolute sense. Like, think of the people at the top of your fandom, the people that love you the most. How many people have...
Shout out Big Ol' Family.
Dude, the Big Ol' Family is a special thing. How many of those number one fans have gone on to support the people in your community because you've shared your spotlight? They would have never seen them if you didn't put on a stage that said Noah Smith's Crooner Circus, or just put them in an opening slot.
Yeah, I think there's something too. I've always said, when I put, like, we played a show at Southgate House together, and it was a great night. Was it my record release, or it was something?
It was your record release for the Long Cut album.
For the Long Cut, great. It was a great night, and having you guys on that show, to me, I've always been a big believer of, like, I love putting a thing together so when my fans go home the next morning, they don't go, "Oh no, it was great last night," but they say, "I had a freaking awesome time, man."
Yeah.
And me and my wife, we danced and we had drinks and the after party was great. And they wake up the next morning and go, that was amazing. You know what those people are? They're music fans. They're not just Noah Smith fans. And I've always believed that was another way to go about it. It's like, if I can cultivate that, then that means there's now people that are fans of everybody, but they know why they showed up. But also, like, now we're creating a city of people that are there for the right reasons. That's good for all of us.
Yeah.
And if you win, then I can someday win sometimes with you, you know, and go open that show or whatever. And I just always kind of looked at that. Like, I didn't think about it or be strategic about it, but I believe in it. Like, that's the way to do it.
And not only do you believe in it, but like, you're actively doing it. Like talk about this Megacorp show. Like, this is about to be some crazy shit. Noah Smith, 500 miles to Memphis, Sunday drives, April 14th.
Yeah, April 14th. Yeah, man, it's coming up.
Dude, it's going to be a hot show. And also, like, what a challenge to bite off. What an amazing room, a great concert experience, but like, it's a big space, and that kind of thing is daunting for guys like you and I because there's costs associated with that.
Right. I'm stoked on it, man. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do, they booked that venue is amazing, brand new venue. And since not brand new, but just killer spot in space. And so we're really excited. And more so, even like I get to be with my buds, 500 miles of Memphis, Sunday drives, like all of us are brothers essentially in music. And, so that show, like, I'm really excited about it. But the look for me, it was like, because I think they're going to do some more of these series, and I mean it's a local to Cincinnati show. Mm-hmm. I almost moved my single release back for it to like make it an event, but the gears were in motion, so it's popping. It's out. It'll be out when that show happens. But for me, like the win was like that first one of these. If they're going to do a series, like just being real, like in the weeds about it, I actually said like if it's going to be like local band showcase, I was like I don't want to do it. Because, like, I don't really care to do anything that looks like that anymore.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we might do some more. And I said, is this the first one? And they were like, yep. And I said, I'm in. Because that's the look. That's the, like, when that show drops, that's that relevancy thing of, like, oh, why is... But, dude, people, I'm sure, are like, I would love to be on this show. We're talking about independent music stuff now, not, like, sorry to anybody. Like, I would love to be on that show. It's like, well, you're not.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, like you should have been there 7 years ago. Yeah. And don't worry, in 7 years you're going to be somewhere.
That's it, right? And you can cry about that, or you can go to work, you can go home, and that happens, dude. How many times I've seen that happen at Crooner Circus, where it's like a year ago, it just happened. The last Crooner Circus, there was a cat playing. I was like, man, this guy's putting in the work right now.
Yeah,
he's changing. And then I'm seeing that sharpen everybody up and level everybody up. And that's an amazing thing. And Megacorp show is going to be awesome. I'm super excited. Love 500. Love Sunday Drives. It's a big space, but I'm all in on it. This single's happening, and we're going to promote the heck out of it. So
it's also the right space to see a show. It's just like it's such a 10 out of 10 experience. I think between that and Andrew Dre Brady, like we found rooms that will service the biggest names in town that you should already love, but also the bands that come through that maybe you did the right thing. Maybe you found them before it was, just pop culture. You went to a show because everyone else is going. Like, no, go there because you love the music, and keep showing up for those people.
And there's a currency in the room of hanging out. Like, I literally got 5 Facebook messages from local bands when that show dropped.
Yeah.
And we're like, how do I get on that? Whatever, in like different ways said that. And it's like, I love it. I love that. I love that somebody, because I wasn't that person. I was always coming in reverse engineering and looking how we could like build a relationship, and not in like a icky like way of like strategy, but just like, okay, I'm going to respect that grind and not, but I love when somebody is like, how do I do that? But at the same time, it's like, how do you say like, I can't share this contact with you. This person is now my friend.
Yeah. They've trusted
in
me.
My life. Like we've done business together. And so it gets weird and tricky like that. And then I realize at that next level, there's shows that I'm like, man, there's a tour right now that I'm like, I'd have been perfect for that slot. And one of my homies is on it. And I'm like, I'm not going to be like, why am I not on there? I look at myself and like, what's the thing that I didn't connect? They connected it, and I need to be happy and proud for that person. And somebody in Nashville, it's like, I could get down on myself, or I could go, oh, they did something different and connect that. But it's weird because I want to be like, well, how'd you get on that, dude?
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm doing that more nowadays. I think since COVID, I'm like, whatever, just ask, Mm-hmm. There's an artist in Nashville, Kaylee Nicole, co-writer of mine, cool songwriter, artist, and she's an actress and stuff. She told me that one time, she said, when I'm talking to somebody new, she said, she's got some LA in her. Like, she's like, I'll just straight up ask them, like, what are the 3 things that you can help me with? And she did that to me. Like, we were co-writing. She's like, before you go, like, what are like a couple things you could help me with? I was like, what? And then I started thinking, I shared a couple of contacts with her. Next thing you know, she's doing social media work with somebody that I know. And it's like, that's some baller stuff to actually just be real. Like,
yeah.
So I love when somebody hits me up. But yeah, the Megacorp show is awesome. Cincy Music. Shout out to, dude, I used to work for WNNF. 94.1 was called The Frequency, and now they're sponsoring this show, and it's funny. I'm actually going to try to go do an interview and like talk about. I put in my application to go do production. I did sales there, and the sales guy was so pissed off that I like wanted to go work for production. Called me into his office and was like, it basically was like, if you don't want to make money, like, and I was like, yeah, I hate this, and I was like, but it's literally you're hiring for this slot.
Yeah.
So why don't you just put me over there and I do great work? And luckily I didn't. I'd probably still be there because I like doing all that stuff. But they were so mad. Like 2 weeks later, they were like, you just get out of here or whatever. And they paid me. And but I loved that environment, dude, like to be a part of that. But it just wasn't for me to be. But it's cool that they're sponsoring the show. And like a couple of them hit me up. I was like, yeah, dude, like we're going to do this. And so we're going to try to do an interview. And so, yeah, April 14th, Megacorp is going to be happening in Cincinnati, Ohio, 500 miles of Memphis.
What's the best way to buy tickets right now?
Online, noahsmithmusic.com.
Cool.
It's there. It's the only place I know where it's at. So.
Hey, hot damn, baby. One thing that like we should start to wrap this up. We're hitting an hour and a half, and you got other stuff to do.
We've been talking. Yeah, this coffee's awfully
bro. I'm telling you, I'm going to finish this pot.
Some Matt Waters coffee.
But my brothers are both in the world of sales. Both these guys work in the world of printer sales, and they're my brothers. I love them to death. They piss me off. They tell me the most brutally honest shit, and they're so good to me, and they're terrible. You know what I mean? Like they're your brothers.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my brother Dave the other day. He goes, people don't want to sell, like people don't want to buy from you if you're just trying to sell to them. People have no interest in just services. People are interested in people. So forge a relationship that's meaningful with someone, and then when it's time to do business, do good business. Get your shit done, but treat them like it's you and them in the room, and you want to get to know them. And that goes for the booking agents, the other artists, your fans, for all that shit. Because if you don't turn around and get off of your sales pitch, your elevator speech, or whatever it's going to be, then you start to sound like a parrot of what you want to be and not who you are.
Bookings like that for sure. I think something Morella from Southgate House, I heard her talk about. She came in the long cut, did a talk, some coaching, and I believe this completely. If you ever want to go book shows, anybody, when you're sending booking emails, you're talk to a person, not the venue. Because it's a person getting that email.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, they treat it like it's this big machine. It's like there's a human being that had their coffee or they didn't that morning in whatever mood they're in. And so I love that thought of like the same thing you're saying, like talk to the person.
Yeah.
Connect to the person.
And when it's time for business, it's time for business. You can knock that shit out so quickly if you've actually become a friend of that person.
Right.
And that goes for your bandmates, it goes for other artists, and especially goes for your fans. I'm really surprised by that. Someone's come out to your show for 3 years, you never asked them what the fuck they do outside to come to your shows. Like, then what's their chances of reinvesting in you? Yeah. Like, probably pretty low.
And just be a human being. That's why you sit down and talk. Because it's like, we're homies, and for me, I love that world. Like, if me and Candace, if I didn't play music, we'd still be at shows every weekend because that's our environment. She hates, like, I love to belly up to a bar. Like, I like to hang out. I love to talk. That's why we've been talking for 2 hours or whatever. Like, I love to just story time, and get into that. And she, when we go to a place, I'm like, you want to sit at the bar? She's like, let's sit over here. And it's like, when we're at the Mexican restaurant, I'm like, you want to sit at the bar? Like, no, let's have a dinner together, Like, because I love that. I just love the whole world. I think COVID, one of the reasons, like, during that time was like, that's what threw me off the most. It wasn't like not being on stage. It was the ecosystem of humanity that I was with. You meet the sound guy, the bartenders. When you get there, you're loading into your show. You're talking. After the show, you're talking to the people. We just missed all of that. Like, there was the whole social ecosystem of, like, we were doing life together. And I've said that for a long time. I heard somebody say it years ago. It was a fan of mine, but like, we don't do music and then live our life. Like, live your life and let music be a part of it. That to me is the answer. Like, this is life, dude. Like, I'll sit here and talk to you all day because I like talking to you. Yeah. Not because I'm trying to, let's see how many YouTube shorts we can get. I mean, that would be rad.
Yeah, it probably won't be a ton. I'll be honest with you. That YouTube shorts. But man, like, one short story of, like, it made a big difference to me. And what I thought about this was, like, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I'm playing at the Tin Roof, and the sound guy for the night was coming in a couple minutes late, and he's stressed as fuck. And it's like, I know I've already run these cables, things are fine. And I said, he was apologizing for running behind or something that was going on.
That's a big win already.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like someone that's understanding that. And I was like, bro, this show doesn't go off without you. It's like, as much as I'm doing my thing, like, God, I need you. So here's a beer, and let's go do this together. And that guy that was working a club that I no longer really play ended up being the one that's at Promo West when I'm there, you know, or being at Riverfront Live. Someone who's in places where I would never expect to need a friend.
You'll get shows because of that.
Yeah.
That cat's at a bar like, hey man, you know, Matt Waters, like, good dude, got me a beer one day. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Next thing you know, you're opening for one of your favorite bands.
Yeah. And when you see that person, you go back to that moment where you were just people, man. And that's such a beautiful thing.
Bro, I was on some baller stuff for a while, making good money, working construction, and I was investing in my band. And so it was like different season of life because now I'm just a broke old starving songwriter. And one of the things, this is a pro tip, man, for band. I believe in this. I'm not doing it as much right now just because of that, but like being real transparent. Go into a bar if you're out of town, give the bartenders a T-shirt. That's a win because when you come back the next time, they'll probably have it on. But the other thing I used to do, man, I would buy buckets of beer and I'd write like a note in it if we were playing a show, and I would like leave that for the other band. So when they showed up, they're like, Noah bought us some beer. Because if you're promoting the show, if you're buying the room and putting it on,
yeah, you're
buying that. Or if you're going to, you know, the money's coming out of that. And I used to do that. And like, that was such a cool thing. Saw somebody do something similar to that. But like, serve people, show up, love people, live life, like be a good host. Don't just be some grungy, dirty, pissed off at your high school teacher. Like, that's maybe why you showed up. But at the end of the day, from the sidewalk to the stage, like, show up and serve and love the thing and be on. You're not that you're on, but you're on like engage mode, you know. Yeah. You know, maybe you don't show up. We used to change before we would get to a place. So when we rolled in, it was like, oh, there's the band, you know.
Yeah.
And that's changed a little bit. You know, everybody's just rolling in with, because culture changed. It's not like now they'll change out of their jeans and they'll put sweats and white sneakers on, and they'll look like they're show ready. There's the artist.
Gross. Those Adidas, man.
My oldest son, dude, he'll have white shoes. But I was like, dude, when I was in high school, anybody that wore white shoes were like, they were the asses. For real.
You're bullying him based on your high school experience. You're like, lame ass.
I don't want to judge you today, but you probably drive a Civic.
And your dad definitely didn't buy you that Civic. Like, hey, white shoes.
Or a Tiburon. Was it Tiburon? Is that a car? I'm such not a car guy.
I'm not either, man.
Yeah. There's some people in high school watching this right now. Like, that was me.
Yeah.
You meet them later in life, and you're like, you're a pretty good human. And they're like your kid's a soccer coach. And you're like, oh, okay, I get this guy.
Facts.
He was just confused as I was.
Yeah. Well, Noah, thanks for spending your birthday over here, man.
Yeah, man.
I love you, brother. I really appreciate all you fucking do. Happy birthday. We got to do the Stevie version. We'll listen on the way out. But my friends, Noah motherfucking Smith, thanks for coming, brother.
Thanks, man.